Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Zachary Dickinson here, and today I will be talking about a book series I read last year. That was the longest book series I've read since I got into books that isn't into an extended universe like Star Wars or some kind of connected thing like Marvel or something else. It's bigger than a trilogy and it's 7 books long. I started reading just about 3.5 years ago in 2022. I've read 95 books since. And this 7 book series, the Lorien Legacies, is definitely one of the best series I've read since. Again, less than 100. So it starts off with I Am Number 4, the introductory book, and it introduces our main character and is very grounded in in the book overall and does a slow approach as to what the villains are. And then as the book goes on, you're just introduced to just this one group, one character and his life in where he's currently at after he's moved and moved and moved. And then after that we have Power of Six, which we get the next which we get a new person in the Lorien 9 that traveled to Earth from Lorien. And she helped 4. And so as the book continues with Rise of 9, The Revenge of 7, Fall of 5, The Fate of 10, and even United as One, the final book, we slowly get introduced to all of these 6, or later 7, remaining Lorien children that were sent to Earth when their planet was getting destroyed. And we slowly go from 1 POV to 2 or 3 POVs to 3 or 4, and it kind of sits at about 3 or 4 POVs. And so it slowly ravels into that. It took me a few months to read these books, because some were fast, some were slow, and not even. And I think that the first one might have been the longest one of them all. Kind of funny. But it is definitely a book series that I would recommend to anyone. But if you're looking for a book series where the whole villain of the entire series gets introduced very early on and the whole cast gets introduced very early on, this is not for you. The first book is a slow-paced book, gets you introduced to the universe, and a slow introduction to everything of it. And then around book 3 or 4, you get introduced to the core main villain, and then they just have fights against that main villain over the next couple books until they ultimately either win or lose. So, what got me interested in this book series? Well, whenever I first, it was really the movie of the first book that came out, and the rest never came out, but I always remembered it. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I saw this in Barnes and Noble, and so I picked it up, and then it sat on my TBR for a while until last summer, whenever I finally started reading it. And it just very much fits into the sci-fi fantasy that I love. Having the romance or whatever isn't the main focus, and the core characters just have a fun time, and go about all of their adventures and trying to save their planet and others, kind of like that. So, I Am Number 4 is the first book of the series, which starts off when John, or 4, gets the third branding of sorts on his leg. He gets each one of the chosen of the 9 get one of these brandings, as another one of the 9 get killed by the Mogadorians, who are the ones hunting them down. Now, I would say the brandings are like the branding a cow or horse or any farm animal would get, for so that others know who the owner is, like that kind of signature branding. It's not really ever described, but they just know. And so when 4 gets it, it's the book officially starts. You have the whole prologue, which isn't that long, of the introduction and all that, and then when the third card appears, boom, we are now here. They all It's called Lorien Legacies because it's by Pittacus Lore, which is an elder of Lorien. Um, it's like a pen name like Mark Twain had. Um, but it's kind of branded as if the elder or leader of the Loriens did write this series. And so it's called the Lorien for where they're from, which is Lorien Legacies because they have the 9 legacies left, and also because legacies are the powers that they get. And so as you go about, so the first book goes on through, and John and his Seepin, which is like a guardian that they have, um, go to Ohio. John falls in love with a girl. He gets a great friend who lost his father in a mysterious way. Um, and and they just go through high school life for the most of it, while also the Mogadorians are slowly catching up to them. Where inevitably at the end most of their high school gets destroyed in a battle with the Mogadorians, where number 6, who's been kind of tracking John recently, shows up and saves them, but for Seepin dies in the process. And so Sam and John, number 4, go on the journey with 6 while leaving Sarah, John's girlfriend, behind, and also the person who used to bully John but now knows of his powers, and so he's now on his side. And so that's what book 1 is. Book 2 continues the journey of John, Sam, and 6, while also adding in Marina and her Seepin, as they've lived in an orphanage for the past couple of years. And her Seepin doesn't really believe in their mission anymore. And slowly, Ella, another Lorien that was sent here, but in a different ship than what the others were sent in, gets sent over. And so eventually 6 goes over to them to help them escape the Mogadorians in a battle, and John and Sam rescue 9 from a facility north of Virginia. But then Sam gets stuck in that facility. And so Rise of 9 goes with John and 9 going about, and 6, 7, who is Marina, and Ella, technically 10, and her Seepin as well, on 2 separate groups. And inevitably they end up together at the end. But where is Sam? How is he doing? Or whatever. And so by the time we get to book 4 of the series, they're finally all reunited. Yeah. So, well, also in book 3, number 8, who like changes form and stuff, gets brought into the fold. And then by book 4, they're all reunited in 9's Seepin's base or whatever, since they had money in Chicago all together. And I think even Sarah's with them, who was 4's girlfriend. And so, and then they inevitably separate again to figure out 2 separate conflicts, because some of them separate to find 5, who is in Florida, to fully reunite all that is left. Because you have 4, you have 6, you have 9, you have Marina, who is 7, and you have 8. So 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, you have 5 of the 6 remaining, so that they obviously want to get the final one together with them. However, 5 isn't with them. But he joins them initially, but then he ends up with the Mogadorians and takes with him Ella. Takes with him Ella. And also kills 8 in the process. So now Marina, who is falling in love with 8, wants vengeance on 5. John and all of them hear about this later. And so now Marina is with 6 and 9, but Marina is seeking vengeance for 5, and Ella is stuck with 5 with, I'm going to butcher this, Cetricus Ra, who is the leader of the Mogadorians, and also the granddaughter, and is also the grandfather to Ella. And Ella was sent into a ship because they used to be one of the 9, like, royal families, in a sense. So they used to be one of the royal or, like, noble leader families, but because of Cetricus Ra, who ended up becoming the leader of the Mogadorians, left, and then he became the leader of the Mogadorians, and so he tarnished the name of their family. And so with all of the chimeras, who are all these dogs, cats, and various animals that were from Lorien, but can transform into all the different animals of Earth, were sent on the ship with Ella and her seamen secretly, and were not on the plans for the rest of the others. And so then by then we have that, and then so for book 5, we also now have Adam, a Mogadorian who turned on his people. We also now have Sam's father is alive, and Sam is now back with the whole group. In the Revenge of 7, it's the Revenge of 7. They want to avenge. Marina wants to avenge him by killing 5. And so she wants that, but then they also need all these other people. So 4 and who else? 4, Sam, Sarah, 4 and his group, which I'm having trouble remembering. So John is by himself of the Loriens. So it's John and Adam with Sam as well, and Sam's father, all together in Chicago in the aftermath of the Chicago home getting destroyed. And so then they go to Washington, D.C., where a secret location of many Mogadorians are, and they have a confrontation with them to also get in touch into their comm system as well. And they find out that there's a secret and good thing for Lorien in Mexico that only the Loriens can unlock. So 6, Adam, Sarah, and others go over down to Mexico for that, while the rest of them stay in Washington, D.C., and all of that. And then so John is by himself of the Loriens. So it's John and Adam with Sam as well, and Sam's father, all together in Chicago in the aftermath of the Chicago home getting destroyed. And so then they go to Washington, D.C., where a secret location of many Mogadorians are, and they have a confrontation with them to also get in touch into their comm system as well. and they find out that there's a um, secret and good thing for Lorien in Mexico that only the Loriens can unlock. So, so Six, Adam, um, Sarah, and others go over down to Mexico for that, while the rest of them stay in Washington D.C. and all of that, and then so John 9, Adam, John and 9 at the very least go to New York with some of the now FBI who are against the Mogadorians, because some of the FBI were and or are with the Mogadorians as they've been enhanced and given advanced technology to help them. And so they go to New York to see one of these Mogadorian pros who has been helped and looks like he hasn't aged or has de-aged 20 years in just a matter of like days or something. And so they go over to New York for that, and the other group is in Mexico, and they finally find the reason why they were truly sent to Earth. It wasn't to reignite or restart their old planet, it was to bring Lorien's planet and powers to them. And also, the Mogadorian invasion finally begins. And so all of that is in Revenge of Seven, and then the Fate of Ten and United as One unpacks the lore behind Cetricus Raw and Pitacus Lore's relationship, backstory, friendship, how Ra became the leader of the Mogadorians, and why he even did it in the first place. Cetricus Raw can be compared easily to those like Orochimaru and Naruto because of how he experimented on countless people of his own to enhance them and make them better, with albeit at the beginning good intentions, but by the time that they're caught, it's not really good intentions anymore. And so we get all of Ra's backstory, we get Pitacus' lore, and the Lorien Council. We get what really happened whenever the Nine were sent away, the true story behind how Ella was sent, and people on Earth are now beginning to get powers as as Lorien went into its body and then dissipated and went into Earth, as a select number of people began to get powers. And so with the remaining ones of the Nine, with Ella and even Adam, who is a Mogadorian, and Sam and Sarah and Sam's father, they all fight against Cetricus Raw, and there are others who are now with powers. And the only reason why the president begins to believe about all this is because all the kids with powers were like had a vision and were into a room where the remaining Lorien legacies were at the front in as if their seating was above the rest, with Cetricus Raw as well. And so like the president's daughter now believes them and wants to help them in their fight because now his daughter's involved. And so they inevitably defeat Ross. They inevitably defeat, or maybe they don't, Cetricus Raw. And does everyone survive in the process? And so this 7-book series, outside of Star Wars and what other? And yeah, just basically Star Wars. Outside of Star Wars is the longest series I've ever read. And so you have them in this order. But and then I would reorder them in what I think are the best of them, which would be the worst would probably be Revenge of Seven, and then man, that's kind of hard. And then the Fall of Five, the Tower of Six, Rise of Nine, and then the Fate of 10, which is the second to last book. The first book, I Am Number 4, is the second best, and United as one the best. And so of all 7 books in the series, the United as one, I Am Number 4, and Fate of 10 were all easy 5 stars and near perfect books. It was wonderful because it began with a wonderful and great chapter and then closed in back-to-back books with great action and a wonderful end to the story, while also opening the door for more in the future, which there's also a Generation 1 series set for an academy of Earth's children that now has powers. And so the other 4 books are all still good. Some are a bit slower and take a bit more time to develop the story of that book than others, but they are all still good. But the first and the last 2 are the best. And so now that is the Lorien Legacies. And I will be posting 3 videos a week from this point onwards as best as I can. And you can look forward to those on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturdays every week around 11 a.m. And next Monday will be what are my top 10 favorite books. Then we will have on Wednesday my top 15 favorite shows, including both anime and non-anime alike. And then a week from tomorrow, being Saturday when you view this video, a week from Saturday will be a video like this with a trilogy of books that I read in the immediate aftermath of reading the Lorien Legacies, which is the first trilogy in the Inheritance Games universe. And that was a blast and one of the quickest reads I've ever had. So have a wonderful and blessed day. God bless, and see you in the next one.